Hello and welcome back to Talking Team Durham. In this episode, we are joined by Head of John Snow College and Associate Pro Vice Chancellor of Student Experience, Nathan Sempala-Ntege. Thank you for joining us, Nathan.
Thanks very much, Sydney. Good to see you. Now, in my instructions for this podcast, I was told that I had to wear sporty attire. Now, I've just come straight from the office, so the only bit of sporty attire I could find in my office was this.
Oh, how
and I
ominous.
appreciate that many of you won't be able to appreciate this. It is my rugby mullet.
Wow.
I
This
was
is the
wondering
first
why you
prop.
brought your backpack in. Yeah, first prop.
There we go. Worn for the John Snow College sports formal. So look like a proper rugby boy.
I'm very rarely speechless, Nathan,
There
but
we go.
this has achieved it.
There we go.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So on that note, you mentioned John Snow College. We should start with that. So you are the principal of the college. Can you just walk us through a little bit how you've gotten there, what your time is like there, and what you're seeing for the college going forward?
Yeah. So I'm relatively new to Durham. I'm new to higher education as well. My previous job was in the army. I left that a year and a half ago. Came to Durham to John Snow College, and I can say without fear of contradiction, it has been the best job I've ever done. It is just such huge fun. When I arrived at the college, it was a really, really interesting experience because we're quite a new college. We only go back to about 2001, but we're also very new to Durham. So I think if you ask the students in the college what they think, they'll say it's absolutely brilliant. Of course, we've got a really great atmosphere, really, really good culture, but we're quite unknown. And I think we've still got that sort of slight air of being right up at the top of the hill, beyond the asteroid belt. So one of the things I really want to do during my time here is really put us on the map. And part of that, of course, involves winning as many sports competitions as we can.
I'm really happy you mentioned sports because that was my next question for you. College sport, big at Durham University, big in John Snow. Can you kind of describe us what it's like at John Snow and how you're going to kind of move it forward and what you've seen so far?
Yes, yeah. So we've got 20-odd sports teams. I think it's one of the great features of our college. We're not one of the big hitters yet. So I check the points table. I'm very competitive. I check the points table pretty much every week. So we've got the Collingwood Grey at the top. So we're still mid-table. But I think for me the key is participation, because the more people you've got participating in sport, the more they're reaping the benefits of it. And I'm sure we'll come on to that in a little while. But the more people you have participating, the more resilient your teams are. And I've seen it where you lose that, a team loses that key position, that scrum half or the goal shooter, and you lose the next kind of couple of matches. So I really want to increase participation, have resilient teams, win more stuff, get more silver in the cabinet.
Love it. And you also, part of your role, oversee Team Durham. Can you just kind of talk about the difference of performance sport at Team Durham versus John Snow College sport and other colleges?
Yes, yeah. So for this year, I've been Director Student Enrichment, which involves overseeing and helping out Team Durham, as well as performing arts, volunteering, leadership, and a whole host of other random things that come with that job, which we won't go into now. I think the sports offering at Durham is absolutely extraordinary. I've got children at 3 other universities, and I've never seen anything like this. It is so impressive. I think when I look across performance sport and college sport, I do wonder sometimes whether we've got kind of the balance right. There's a huge amount of resources that goes into performance sport, and I think that's been borne out by the value of that's been borne out by our resources. But then I look at just the scale of college sport at a weekend, and we've got one poor graduate intern running around with his or her hair on fire, trying to pull it all together, sort out all the training slots. So I think if I had a little bit more time and a little bit more resources, I'd probably want to look at how we can put even more into college sport, without prejudicing our really, really important offer to our Team Durham sportsmen and women, which is, the ability for them to compete for their university in Bucks, to have that whole Wednesday afternoon, evening experience. So as with everything, it's a kind of a balance. But I think when I look at the two, that's the one thing I'd like to try and shift a little bit more towards college sport.
Yeah, absolutely. If you ask anyone mentions the college system here. So you got to keep that going and keep Team Durham. So thank you so much. Shifting a little bit, you mentioned before that you're kind of new to higher education. Previously, you spent 27 years, if I'm wrong, in the military. Can you kind of talk us through adversity you faced there versus in your career here, and kind of how you're translating that experience into your new role?
Yes, yeah, I had a brilliant time in the army. 27 years is a long time, and I won't try and summarise it. But one of the great advantages of a military career is you do a new job every 2 years. So I've done a huge amount. We've lived in lots of different countries. I've worked with people all over the world. I've experienced real highs and real lows. But I think what it gives you is really, really great leadership experience. Your first job out of Sandhurst, if you're an officer, is commanding a troop or platoon of 30 soldiers. Clearly, you're not on your own. You've got really experienced people to help you. But that leadership experience of really getting to know people, really learning to care about them, to look after their welfare, to discipline them when they're being naughty, and just to drive them to achieve the highest standards that they're capable of it's supremely satisfying. And it's one of those things that if you stay in your career, you get kind of progressively larger groups of people to do that with. So I went on to command a battery of 100, a regiment of 500, and then ended up as the deputy commanding general of an American Army division of 18,000. So it gives you a wealth of leadership experience, and I think leadership is the really key thing that I want as many people to go away from their time at Durham with.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. You talked a little bit about leadership. You have a kind of unique leadership strategy. Do you have any way you could summarize that for us today? Or
wow, that's a big
one,
question.
yeah,
it is, and
yeah.
I think if you went onto Google and you Googled leadership, it would return something like 2.5 billion results. So there are lots and lots of different takes on leadership. For me, I think one of the best descriptions I've ever heard of leadership comes from Field Marshal Bill Slim, who was a British Army general in World War II, who then went on to be, I think he was the governor of Australia, and then worked in business. But he turned around a really demoralised army in Burma that went on to defeat the Japanese. And his description of leadership is the will and capacity to rally people to a common cause, together with a character that inspires confidence and trust. And I think that is a really, really succinct, overarching description of leadership. And I think it really applies in almost any situation you can think of. So I always try to kind of bear that in mind when I think about what I'm trying to achieve. And I think leaders really are for four things. Leaders impart example, energy, direction, and purpose. In whatever situation you're in, if you think about those four things, you've got to set the personal example of how to behave, what to do, provide that energy when people are a bit downcast, don't know what to do, a bit tired. You've got to be the one who's energetic, who's that dealer in optimism. That you've got to be able to articulate clear direction to everyone on what their part of the plan is, and you've got to explain why. If you can help people understand the purpose of what they're doing, that goes a long way. So I think those are the kind of the four things that leaders do. And I think it requires two qualities. The first of which is courage. And I see that day in, day out amongst all of the sportsmen and women at Team Durham, because all sport involves an element of risk. Some slightly more than others. But it takes courage to get out onto the pitch. It takes courage to take that penalty kick, to shoot for that basket, that goal, to take that short corner. when you don't know what's happening. So I think, I see a lot of that kind of courage. Where I think we've got to get even better is in the other aspect of courage. So I describe those kind of things as physical courage. I think where we need to get even better is in that the aspect of moral courage, which is doing the right thing. And it's really hard, but that's what leaders are for. We have to have the moral courage not to turn a blind eye to that inappropriate behaviour, to call out that bullying or whatever else. That's the first quality I think leaders need is courage, physical and moral. And the second is humility, because being a leader is not about you. Of course, it's wonderful to get that promotion to become the captain, the president, the vice president, but actually being a leader is all about the people that you're leading. And I think the best articulation I've seen of it in a sporting context is James Kerr's book Legacy about the All Blacks. So the most successful sporting team on the planet, certainly at the time. But they had a code of behaviour which was I found really, really inspiring. And there was this one strapline which was sweep the dressing room.
Sweeping the sheds.
Yeah, sweeping the sheds. Yeah, sweeping the sheds.
Absolutely.
So, and I think that really encapsulates it. The best sportsmen on the planet, but at the end of the match, they're the ones picking up the grotty plasters and bits of mud and really taking care of their environment and working together. And I would just challenge, I think sometimes, some of our teams just to really take that on board so that we don't end up with that. At the end of the session, right, freshers go and pick up the balls. I'd really challenge our leaders to set that example and to be the one that goes out in the rain to the far end of the pitch and picks up all the corner flags. So I think, like I said, humility, I think, is the other key characteristic.
Wow. Thank you so much. I was going to ask you for your advice for students going forward, but I feel like you just hit the nail on the head. So anything else extra you want to address to the students that might be listening to us today?
No, I would just say I really am in awe of you. The sheer breadth of what you all do. I know I'm potentially speaking largely to a kind of a sporting audience, but people who are doing really hard degrees at Durham, holding down a social life, playing sport, doing music, volunteering. It's really, really inspires me every day, and that's why I run up the stairs 2 at a time when I come into Maiden Castle and when I go into John Snow College. So it's just been great. So keep on keeping on.
Love it.
Guys, I have loved being a fly on the wall for this conversation. You two are fonts of knowledge. I'll end with one slightly provocative one to you, Nathan, because I'm not scared of taking some flack in the comments. But how long until Jon Snow are better at Collingwood in sport?
4 years.
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting such an immediate number. I love that.
Yeah. We've got a plan.
Of course you do.
Yeah, so we'll be back up here.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll be back up here. So if any Collingwood students are listening, have a good look at the silver in your cabinets because we're coming for it.
I love that. Erin, Nathan, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
guys
both.
for listening to another episode of Talking Team Durham, and we will see you soon.